Hey, this is Dean Crippen with Dean Crippen Marketing. Just here having a cup of tea today here in Sacramento, California. It's beautiful and sunny out here, and everything is going fantastic. Hey, in this video I'm going to go over some things I'm learning as I'm reading a book that's called The New Technology of Achievement. It's by Steve Andreas and Charles Faulkner. It's about Neuro Linguistic Programming and what it can do for you. Basically, I'm going to just go over the 10 Principles of NLP. They're very powerful. The book is very, very powerful. Excuse me, I have a little cough today, so I'm nursing it a little bit with some tea. Anyway, I want to go over these principles with you. I think they're very powerful. I'm finding them very powerful as well. So let's get right into it. Neuro Linguistic Programming is a system of training and excellence that was developed by two interesting guys back in the 70s. A guy named Grinder and Bandler, and they came from interesting backgrounds. One was a mathematician, the other one was a linguistics specialist in the Army, and when they got together they were very interested in the effects of patterning and modeling people, and then they got together with a hypnotist and they basically turned combined hypnosis and these mind triggers and patterning into a very, very, very powerful technology that's been popularized by guys like Anthony Robbins and many others. Just recently I'm digging into it, getting underneath it, and seeing what it's all about, and see how it can help me and others. So let me go into it. Basically, the 10 principles that they talk about are, first off, the map is not the territory. Think about a map of a city or a road map of the country. It's very useful to get from one place to another, but it truly is not the actual territory. There is so much more complexity, infinitely more complex in the reality of the situation than what's on the map. So, but in order to be useful, you have to narrow it down to the critical information that you need to get from point A to point B. For example, streets, names, addresses, landmarks, etc. But there's literally an infinite more amount of information in the reality. Now, it's also true in how you think about something, how you symbolize something. You recognize something by certain patterns. Certain patterns appear in your life, and you recognize that as a certain place or a certain situation. But that situation may be completely different from what the actual reality is. So we as human beings, we like to recognize patterns and categorize them and put them into places so that we can handle all the information we get. We literally get billions and billions and billions of bits of information that we're processing on a daily basis, and so we have to have a way of organizing it to make something out of the hodgepodge of just tons and tons of information. It's one of the fantastic things of our mind. So anyway, the first step, or the first principle, is that the map is not the territory, and that's a good thing, because we can change our map and change our perception of the situation. The second point is your perception of an experience has structure or a pattern to it. For example, when you remember something, when you remember something, you remember it in a certain way. You remember it in black and white or dark, or you're in a dark mood when you're remembering it, or you remember it in a happy mood. It's like loud and bright and colorful. It just depends on the situation and the feelings that you're feeling that are associated with that memory. So that structure or that association that you have, that set of perceptions that you have or memories that you have along with that memory is kind of the structure of that memory. And that is also an important fact when you're bringing up ideas, memories, thoughts, and how they affect you. So we can go back in, and one of the fantastic things that they learned when they're studying and developing NLP was that you can actually go in and change your memories, add something to it to change the meaning to you. And so those memories don't bring you down, or I mean, you could have too high of highs and too low of lows. You can bring everything down to a normal state. You can get yourself into the zone. You can get yourself into the place where you want to be, where you're going to be much more resourceful. The third thing is that if one person can do something, anyone can do it. This is a really important thing, and especially once you learn the patterns, the thinking patterns and the mental patterns that one person has, if you can emulate, if you can mimic those, you are basically going to get the same results as they do. You know, but it's very important to realize if you see somebody doing something, unless there's something, you know, physically or environmentally within your environment that you cannot do it, and you can absolutely make it happen. And you should never assume that you can't. You should always assume that everything is possible, and then go for it, and the world will let you know if you cannot do it. Again, assume everything is possible, and then go forward with that. Use that as your basic assumption. Have no limiting beliefs. Let the world tell you what the limits are. Let them say no, and let them say no 1,000,000 times, because just because it didn't work one time, it could work the next time. The next principle is your body and your mind are two components of the same system. So your body and your mind work together. They're not the same. They're different, but they work together and they're connected. So when you move your body in a certain way, it stimulates your mind. When you think certain thoughts, it stimulates your body. So if you do one or the other, it's yin and yang. They're together. They're connected, and they respond to each other in a positive way. So there's an action and a reaction in every movement of body and in mind. So you just realize that is an important thing, because you can change your mindset by moving your body, and you can change your body by moving your mind. It's a very powerful concept to get through and understand. The next principle is that to understand that people, you and I, have all the resources. We already have all the resources that we need in order to do anything we need. We have the skill sets. We have the tools that we need. We have the imagination. We have the insight. We have the feelings. We have everything that we basically need to make it happen, to create a world around us that we want. We don't need anything outside ourselves that we do not have right now. There's nothing outside you that you need in order to create the world that you want. Now, the other thing is, and the next principle is, you cannot not communicate. Every time that you talk, you are communicating. Every body movement you make, you're communicating. The way you walk, the way you talk, the way you hold yourself, everything that you do, you are communicating. Every time you make a gesture, you're communicating. Even not saying a word is communicating. And this is obvious when you look around. You can just see, you immediately pick up something from somebody when they're walking down the street. Whether they see you or not, you can make a pretty good assumption on how they're feeling. If they're all you can tell they're depressed. Or if they're really happy and they're jumping around, they're happy. You can see that, and there's no way that you cannot communicate when you are out and about in the world. You are always communicating. So that's a very important concept to understand. It's a baseline of what you're doing, so that you're aware that whenever you're interacting with anybody, whenever they can see you, hear you, feel you, anything, you are communicating to them. The seventh principle is the meaning of your communication is the response you get. So you may intend to be communicating one thing, but the response you get is actually the communication that you're making. So it's the response that you're getting from others that causes is the actual meaning of the communication, or the response that you're getting from yourself is the actual communication that you're sending out. This is what you're communicating. It's not what you intend, it's what you actually, what the results are. You have to be aware of the results of your communication, of your voice, of your language, of the things that you do, in order to understand what you are saying to people, either through your body language or your vocalization. Everything that you say, every movement you make are all communicating things, and the way people react to you, that's the communication that you're getting back. It's also a reflection of what's inside of them, but realize when you're communicating something, what they get is what you are communicating, even though you intend something else. Now, the 8th principle is underlying every behavior is a positive intention. So basically, every behavior that everybody does is either to avoid pain or to seek pleasure, which are both positive intentions. Nobody does anything for any other reason than to avoid pain or to seek pleasure. So that's the basic bottom line on that. The 9th principle is people are always making the best choices available to them. So, I mean, we're basically talking about rational, sane people that, are not sadistic and trying to hurt themselves. So basically, they are always going to try and make the best choice that they feel is available to them. They may be reacting, it may be their program that they have inside them that they're reacting to or reacting from, that causes them to make a certain behavior. And that's one of the things that NLP helps to correct, is that programming, that your automatic habit of responding in a particular way may not be the most resourceful one, but it is the best one that you have at the time. And until you learn another response, until you get a better habit, you will continue doing the best thing that you know how, or the best thing that you think you can do in order to respond to that particular stimulus or situation. So again, people are always making the best choices available to them. They're always trying to do the best thing they can with the resources that they have and the programming that they have. Finally, number 10, if something is not working, you need to do something different. If you do something and it's not working, you need to try something different. Anything. Do anything different. If you're looking for a different response, if you're looking for a different result, if you're looking for something different from what you're getting, you need to try something different. I mean, there's the old one, keep doing what you're doing. That's the definition of insanity. If you don't like what you got, keep doing what you're doing. Well, there's some absolute truth to that. If you're not getting the results that you want, you have to try something different and see what the results are. That's critical. That's really, really critical to growth and to doing something. You have to go out there and try something different, and then step back and be aware of it. Now, one other trick or exercise that I learned so far is that if you have a situation that's really bothering you, that's really worrying you, pull back, put that memory up on the screen of your mind, and just visualize it. Pull yourself out of it and visualize that picture. And by doing that, by pulling yourself out and then watching that movie, it will help you pull away from it. And as you do, the fear that you feel from that particular situation will alleviate itself. So for example, if you're afraid to pick up the phone and call somebody, if you're afraid that you might get rejected, I can totally understand that. I mean, people can be pretty brutal on the phone and cold call them, and they don't want to talk to you. So, what do? Well, just imagine yourself on the phone calling people up, and then when you pick up, imagine the other person on the line, And you can just see this whole picture, see yourself in the picture, and then when they're not interested, just, you know, you do your thing, say, hey, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry to bother you, have a great day. And then, if you see yourself from a third person point of view, it will alleviate the fear that you have of that situation. So that's just one of the tools that I'm learning about. I think that they're very powerful. I think this Neuro Linguistic Programming, when it's coupled with self-hypnosis, is an extremely powerful way to improve yourself. Thank you very much for taking a look at this video. I hope you enjoy this information. I intend on giving you some more. And again, I look forward to seeing you back here at Decrypted Marketing. Have a great day.